to all. Our province, Honorable Speaker, needs concrete and sustainable interventions to make these rights of disabled people a reality. We need a more inclusive Free State, a Free State that is accessible for all who live in her and those who visit her. We therefore call on the Office of the Premier to capacitate the Office on the Status of Disabled Persons by equipping it with the much needed resources, personnel and authority to coordinate and support initiatives that address the needs of disabled persons within the Free State provincial government. As it stands now, the office is highly under-resourced and understaffed. The office is very, very significant as it is entrusted with also providing a strategic direction to all sector departments and municipalities in our province. On the Department of Small Business, Tourism, Environmental Affairs, Honourable Speaker, DSTIA must effectively and robustly popularize all the funding platforms targeting entrepreneurs with disabilities, such as Amavula Ndlela funding, which is located within CIFA, the IDC Fund for Persons with Disabilities, and the National Empowerment Fund. These agencies must focus on sectors like agriculture, agro-processing, industrialization, and specialized projects initiated by disabled entrepreneurs so that they can thrive with proper support. The Environmental Affairs, Honourable Speaker, must ensure climate resilience initiatives that include persons with disabilities, offering access to adaptive tools, resources, and education in climate-smart practices. South Africa is a country, as she is transitioning from the third industrial revolution and the fourth industrial revolution, must take advantage of the innovative technology, introduce and intensify the use of technological platforms such as apps that automatically alert people on any climate change eventuality, such as storms, snow, and tornadoes. This will assist people with disabilities to get information on the tips of their fingers than to hear them as hearsay. On the Department of Human Settlement, housing needs for people with disabilities in the Free State province are very critical, given the barriers we face in accessing adequate, accessible, and affordable housing. Honourable Speaker, in many occasions, people with disabilities are not allocated houses in our province, and where they are located, houses are not accessible. They have no wheelchair ramps, widened doors, grab rails, and visual communication features for deaf persons, such as smoke alarms, flashing lights, braille signage, and voice-activated systems for blind people. This might sound expensive, however, it saves lives. Houses allocated must be needs-based and not generalized. Each house must be to the specific need of the beneficiary issued to. On the Department of Transport, Honourable Speaker, accessible transport is critical for persons with disabilities to participate fully in social, economic, and civic life. The lack of adequate transport services poses a significant barrier and perpetuates socio-economic inequalities. It restricts disabled people from finding employment, limits many children from attending schools, skills development centers, academic institutions, health services, and enhances social isolation. Women with disabilities face compound disadvantages as transport inaccessibility limits their mobility and makes them more vulnerable to gender-based violence and femicide. Honourable Speaker, public and private transport must incorporate universal design principles such as wheelchair ramps, raised platforms for wheelchair easy access and crash users, tactile signage, and audio-visual aids. Government must subsidize accessible transportation services to reduce costs for people with disabilities. Government must strengthen and enforce laws and policies ensuring accessibility in all transport sectors, such as the Integrated National Disability Strategy and the National Land Transport Act. Inclusive urban planning is crucial, Honourable Speaker, which will ensure public transport hubs are seamlessly connected with accessible infrastructure like pavements, crossings and elevators. On education, education is a fundamental right and a critical tool for empowerment and socio-economic inclusion. However, disabled people face numerous barriers in accessing education, significantly impacting their socio-economic well-being and contributing to systematic inequality. Lack of education reduces the employability of persons with disabilities, forcing people with disabilities to depend on social grants and family members. We therefore call upon the Departments of Basic and Higher Education to, amongst others, upgrade schools and higher learning facilities to include ramps, accessible toilets, braille materials, JAWS programs, and hearing aids, thus promoting inclusive education. Provide professional development for teachers to support inclusive and adaptive teaching methods. Enforce White Paper 6 on inclusive education and the Children's Act to ensure that schools accommodate learners with disabilities, offer bursaries and stipends to support people with disabilities access to education and related costs like transport and caregivers. Address stigma through community awareness campaigns that promote the value and the rights of persons with disabilities. Honorable Speaker, investing in education of persons with disabilities is a key driver of economic growth, social inclusion, and sustainable development. By removing all these barriers to education, which I believe we can, Free State and South Africa at large can unlock the potential of millions of individuals, ensuring quality and prosperity for all. On the Department of Social Development, Honourable Speaker, most organizations of disabled people are funded by the Department of Social Development. However, funding is very limited. The underfunding of organizations of disabled people, such as DPSA and others in the Free State Province, hinders their ability to effectively advocate for and support persons with disabilities. For example, DPSA is funded for one district, which is the Zweliputswa district, but is expected to be all over the province, including participating on issues of national interest. This restricts our advocacy and capacity to support all persons with disabilities, including government and the private sector. We therefore propose an expansion of budget allocation to cover all districts. DPSA will also introduce a commercial